Hey guys, thanks for joining me today. So what I have here is the Spyderco Delica 4 FFG and the Lone Wolf Mini Landslide. And these are two very similar blades, and I recently had a subscriber ask me which one I preferred, or if I could do a comparison between the two. So that's what we're going to do today. We're just going to real quick go through a comparison. I do have a full review out on both of these knives if you're interested in getting more information on either of them. So let's just start with the blade. As we look at the blades on here, obviously this one is a saber grind, so it's flat ground from kind of a mid portion down. This one is a full flat grind. If I had to choose, I'd take the full flat grind. It's going to slice just a little bit better for like kitchen tasks, stuff like that. For just general utility tasks, cutting through rope and tape, or opening packages, all sorts of stuff like that, there's not a strong preference between them. But for slicing, the Spyderco blade's going to be just a little bit better. Now as we look at the profile of the blades, the Lone Wolf is just a little bit beefier. You got a little bit thicker stock there. You have a more durable point on here. So if you're really going to be worried about potentially torquing on your blade, or potentially putting some stress on it where you might break your tip off or something like that, the Lone Wolf is definitely going to have a little bit of an advantage. But again, not strong preferences either way. I mean, both blades work. I've carried them both, and they both work just fine. Now, as far as your blade shape on here goes, you have kind of a drop point right here, and then you have more of kind of the leaf shape, and you really have a little bit more belly in the drop point. If I had to choose, I'd say the drop point cuts definitely a little bit better. It's just a little bit nicer blade shape, I think. This one, though, there's not quite as much belly. It just makes it a little bit easier to sharpen. So if you're really, kind of challenged at sharpening, I am oftentimes, then maybe this blade shape will serve you a little bit better. So as we move on, your opening mechanisms on here are definitely different. You have a spider hole on here, a 13mm hole, very easy to get open, completely ambidextrous, and I like the spider hole. No complaints. It's a very valid method for opening your knife. A lot of people are big fans of it. On the Lone Wolf, we have a thumb stud, and generally, I kind of lean more towards the spider holes. However, this is a Benchmade thumb stud, and it's a really, really good thumb stud. It's probably the best design I've seen. So it's very easy to get the knife open with this one. It's really easy to get a good grip on it. It's completely ambidextrous. They have cutouts on both sides of the handle to get to it. So I really like this thumb stud. And in this instance, I'd probably lean more towards the Lone Wolf, just because it's a little bit more narrow in the pocket. You notice that the Spyderco is a little bit wider of a knife. And so I really like just kind of the slimmer profile. They're both easy enough to get open. As we look at the locks on here, they're both a back lock, so that's pretty similar. No major differences there. A little bit wider, a little bit stronger, potentially, lock on the Lone Wolf, although they're both a folding knife, so I really wouldn't, put either one of them under a lot of stress. They both unlock fairly simply, or very easily. The Spyderco is just a little more stiff out of the box, I find. It doesn't have quite as much blade weight, so I kind of have to, help the blade down to close it. Here's another Spyderco Delica. This one's I've used for a little bit longer, and again, blade's just a little bit stiffer, not quite as much weight to pull it down, so you kind of have to help it. Whereas the Lone Wolf, when you unlock it, you press the lock down, and the blade just pretty much falls. So I like that feature of the Lone Wolf. It is just a little bit smoother, and it just locks up a little bit more of a click. If you listen, you really hear that. The Spyderco, not bad either. So, as we look at them a little bit further, they're both going to be very easy to service. They both have mini Torx bit construction, so you can take them all apart, service them however you want. You can adjust your pivot point however you want. So no major differences there. As we look at the materials on here, they're both just a polymer handle, and they both do have steel liners inside there. Although the Lone Wolf has less steel inside, it's more kind of like a half liner, whereas the Spyderco has liners down the full length of the handle. So, materials are fairly similar. Now, one thing I forgot to mention about the blade steels are different. This features the N680 steel, and this features the VG10. Now, I like both steels. They both are really nice steels. And honestly, in just kind of an everyday carry aspect or most utility aspects, there's not that big of a difference. Maybe I would lean a little bit more towards the VG10, but I mean, you could make this with VG10 and this with N680, and I wouldn't really care. So the only reason that I would maybe lean one way or the other is if you're going to be in a saltwater environment where it's really, really corrosive, go with the N680. If other than really extremely corrosive environments, they're both going to be great steel for you. Other things that I kind of notice looking at the two knives is just thickness-wise. The Delica is just a little bit slimmer. So in your pocket, if you're really bothered by thick knives, you may like the Delica just a little bit better. As we look at the clips on here, the Spyderco has that kind of hourglass shape. This has more of, well, the Benchmade style shape. They both ride a very similar depth in the pocket. Maybe the Lone Wolf's just a little bit lower. So, I like both clips. One thing I'll notice, I've noticed, is this one, when you're putting on thin material, like pants that they're kind of a thinner material, this one still clips on pretty tightly. The Spyderco is a little bit loose on thin material, but if you're trying to clip onto a really thick seam, the Spyderco is gonna get over that seam and work a lot better. This one sometimes is a little bit difficult getting it over really thick seams. So, again, not huge differences. If you're somebody that likes to carry it tip up, just like this, then they will both serve you just fine. They're both drilled on both sides. However, the Spyderco affords you the opportunity to put it on all four corners of the knife. So if you're a lefty and you like it tipped down, the Spyderco is going to be your best bet. Other things that I've kind of noticed just ergonomically, the Spyderco does have a little bit more texturing to it. It has this kind of bidirectional texturing on there, and that provides a really good grip. You have a nice thumb ramp with jimping, so you can really lock into this knife. And if you're maybe thinking that potentially you would have to defend yourself with one of these knives, I would go with the Spyderco. You're going to really be able to lock in here and get a much better grip. But this isn't a slick knife. The Lone Wolf's not slick. I've never dropped it or anything. And one thing I'll say is that if you're going to be like skinning game or something, so you're going to be getting bunches of blood or mud or whatever on this handle, this knife is going to be much easier to clean off. It's slicker surfaces that'll be much easier to clean. You're not going to get stuff packed in all these little crevices and everything. The other thing is, without that thumb ramp, you can kind of choke up on the knife a little bit more. So again, for just general like carving or utility tasks, this one is a little bit nicer. More things about the handles. The handle on the Spyderco is just a little bit longer. So if you're somebody with really big hands and you need all the real estate you can get, the Spyderco is going to be a little bit nicer. And lastly, as we look at the color, obviously these are both orange knives. The Lone Wolf is only offered in orange and pink, is what I've seen. So if you don't want the bright color, you may want to go with the Spyderco. The Spyderco you can get in the orange, in brown, gray, green, blue, lots of different colors. So you're going to have a little bit more color options with the Spyderco. Now, finally, as we talk about price, which is the all-important factor, the Spyderco, generally, in the past I had seen it maybe around $50. I was surfing around the internet a little bit today. Looks like it's gone up to maybe $60 or $65. So the price on the Delicas has kind of gone up a little bit. The Lone Wolf you're going to be able to get for right around $50. So the Lone Wolf may be about $10 cheaper. So if price is a big factor for you, maybe go with the Lone Wolf. So I don't think I'm going to be able to give you like a definitive, this one's better than that one. But just kind of from what I've told you, based on your personal preferences, try to make a choice. And I'll tell you, they're both awesome blades. I don't think you're going to buy either one of these and be disappointed. So if you have any further questions about either of these knives, feel free to leave that in the comments down below. I'd be happy to discuss this with you more. If you like what you saw in the video, feel free to hit the little thumbs up. I'd really appreciate that. And subscribe to my channel. Got more videos coming. Everyone have a nice day, and thanks for watching.